I'll never forget the sound my service dog made that afternoon, the sharp yelp that cut through the air like a knife. I was sitting on my porch, enjoying a rare moment of peace, when I saw Karen, our notorious HOA enforcer, standing just a few feet away, a spray bottle clutched in her hand. My golden retriever, Max, had been lying quietly at my feet, doing nothing more than breathing, when she doused him in a stream of what I would later find out was industrial-strength cleaner. Max yelped again and scrambled toward me, his eyes wide, his fur damp and reeking of chemicals. I froze for a moment, unable to process what I'd just seen. Then rage like I'd never felt before surged through me. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted, wrapping my arms around Max. Karen's face twisted with the smug arrogance only she could pull off. "That mutt doesn't belong here. HOA rules say no animals outside without a leash. If you can't control him, I will." I stared at her in disbelief. Max wasn't just a pet, he was my service dog. My lifeline. My best friend. You see, a few years ago I was injured in an accident while serving overseas. The blast left me with nerve damage, PTSD, and a condition that sometimes causes me to collapse unexpectedly. Max isn't just company, he's trained to alert me before an episode, guide me to safety, and even call for help if I lose consciousness. Without Max, simple things like going for a walk or even standing in line at the grocery store could become dangerous. He gave me freedom and hope. So when Karen sprayed him, she didn't just attack my dog. She attacked my independence, my dignity, and my safety. I pulled Max close, inspecting him to make sure his eyes and mouth weren't burned by the cleaner. He whimpered softly, pressing against my leg, trying to comfort me even though he was the one in pain. That broke me. "You've crossed the line this time, Karen," I said, my voice shaking with fury. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You're always using that dog as an excuse. This is a community, not your personal pet parade. If you want animals, move to a farm. This is HOA property, and I enforce the rules." Something in me snapped. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. When the police arrived, Karen stood there with her arms crossed, smirking like she had nothing to fear. She actually tried to spin the story, telling the officers that Max was unruly and lunging at neighbors. But Max sat obediently at my feet, his vest clearly marked service dog in big bold letters. His calm, trained demeanor contradicted every lie she spewed. "Ma'am," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "he's a registered service animal. You attacked him with chemicals. That's not just harassment, that's a crime." One of the officers, a tall man with kind eyes, turned to Karen. "Do you understand that interfering with or harming a service animal is a federal offense?" For the first time that day, Karen's smirk faltered. Her mouth opened, then shut. Her face drained of color. I didn't know," she stammered. "It was just cleaner. I didn't mean." The officer cut her off. "Intent doesn't matter. It's illegal. People go to jail for less than this." Karen froze. The smugness melted away, replaced by pure fear. They took my statement, documented Max's condition, and gave me the information to file charges. The officer even knelt down to pet Max gently, checking on him. "He's a good dog," he said softly. "He doesn't deserve this." That night, I sat on the floor with Max, brushing his fur, whispering to him. The smell of chemicals still lingered faintly, and every time he flinched, my chest tightened. I kept replaying it in my mind, his yelp, her cruel smirk, the arrogance in her voice. But more than anything, I kept thinking about how much worse it could have been. What if the spray had blinded him? What if it had caused permanent damage? Losing Max, I couldn't bear the thought. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. For years, people had tolerated Karen's behavior, her threats about lawn height, her constant nitpicking about trash bins, her nasty notes left on doorsteps. But this time, she had gone too far. Neighbors I barely knew stopped by to ask about Max. Some even offered to testify if it went to court. One elderly woman hugged me and said, "That dog is your guardian angel. Don't let her take him from you." The HOA board called an emergency meeting. For once, Karen didn't show up. Maybe she knew the tide had turned against her. Maybe she was too afraid of what she'd done. A week later, I stood in front of a judge with Max by my side. My hands shook as I explained what happened, but Max sat calmly, leaning against my leg as if reminding me I wasn't alone. Karen tried to defend herself, but the evidence was undeniable. The spray bottle was tested, photos of Max's damp fur were shown, and the officers testified to what they had witnessed. The judge didn't mince words. Harming or interfering with a service animal is a federal crime. Consider yourself lucky you aren't walking out of here in handcuffs today. Karen was fined heavily, ordered to perform community service, and banned from holding any HOA position ever again. But the real punishment was the look on her face, the realization that her power trip had finally cost her everything. That night, as Max lay with his head in my lap, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Not just because Karen had been held accountable, but because my community finally stood with me instead of against me. I looked at Max, his brown eyes steady and loyal as ever, and whispered, "You saved me again, buddy. Like you always do." His tail thumped softly against the floor. The message, entitled "People like Karen think rules exist only to serve them, not protect others." But sometimes, it takes one act of cruelty to expose their true nature and bring them down. Max may not have been able to speak, but his presence told a story louder than words: loyalty, courage, and the reminder that kindness will always outweigh cruelty. Because in the end, bullies like Karen only win if we stay silent. But when you stand up, when you fight back, not with rage, but with truth and justice, you remind the world that decency still matters. And sometimes, that reminder comes on four legs with a wagging tail.